Cam Thomas is disgruntled and he wants out of Brooklyn, but Sean Marks probably screwed that whole thing up. Everyone, welcome back to another edition of BKNY Hoops. If you're new to the channel, I'm your boy. It's your boy Rashid. Let's get into it. You guys see the graphics, you see the actual thumbnail. Cam Thomas wants out of here. Supposedly, this is according to like sources out there, and he's disgruntled. He, he really, I don't know who you really blame in this situation. I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around. If you look at past coaches, if we just look at the way the league has pretty much transitioned, they're looking for like, taller, longer players, not necessarily like one dimensional, undersized guards. And when I say one dimensional, you need guys that can actually play like the one, the two, or the three, the two, the three, or the four, the five, and the four, and the three. Like you look at Danny Wolf, he has a skill set to play the three, the four, or the five. Michael Porter Jr., the two, the three, the four, or even in some cases, you could put him as a small ball five. So depending on the matchup right there. If they have like a 6'9", 6'10" center, but not like against a Wemby or anything like that. Um, but so let's get into the whole Cam Thomas situation here. It says that this comes from Brooklyn Nets SI, and it says a Nets Cam Thomas trade makes sense, but can it get done? Who would want Cam Thomas? And this is one of the things that I was actually really trying to for the last 2 years, because he wants star max money, but if you just measure him up to a lot of the other top players, the Donovan Mitchells, the Cade Cunninghams, the Anthony Edwards, the Shea Gilgeous-Alexanders, even like Jalen Williams, Kawhi Leonard when actually healthy. I mean, he's just really not in that tier. So either Cam Thomas has, his ego is bigger than Satan's himself, or he has, people in his corner that's just really straight up lying to the dude over here, man, and just gassing him up and not really telling him the real deal, not telling him the truth. Now, again, I think he will be in China next year. And listen, people think, yo, man, BK, that's crazy. How can you say something so insanely crazy? Because we've seen it happen to a lot of players, in the past, and Cam Thomas is really not of any exception over here, man. And it says the latest trade buzz comes from ESPN's Shams Charania, who recently stated that the organization could move on from Cam Thomas before the trade deadline after failed contract negotiations this summer. Thomas hasn't played since November 5th, having suffered a hamstring injury, but his future was in question before that after being forced to settle for the qualifying offer this summer. So when no teams out there are really like offering you anything, that just tells you how it doesn't matter how you think. Let's say you Cam Thomas or you're his agents, as what other teams really think of you, and nobody's out there really just offering him anything, pretty much, man. I mean, we see Mikal Bridges, like Michael Porter Jr., the way he's actually playing. There's a team out there that can actually throw 2 first-round picks, 3 first-round picks, if they're actually looking to win now. Let's say if a team like OKC has a catastrophic injury, maybe they'll make a move on like a Michael Porter Jr. right there. That's another video. I'll say keep Michael Porter Jr. Let's build a good team. I'm not in the business of just giving away talent like that, man. And then hoping to get a replacement. No, we get a replacement back. Like we got rid of Cam Johnson, and then we got something back of value right there, man. I'm not trying to get back question marks. Okay, so it says many fans and analysts have questioned Thomas' ability as a winning contributor and impact player aside of scoring. And let's talk about that scoring right there, man. The scoring only really is predicated on the referees. Now, he had a couple of 30-something point games to really start off the season. And when you look at that, you'll say, "Oh man, yo, Cam Thomas is nice." And you listen to Sarah Kustok, "Oh, yo, Cam Thomas, Cam Thomas, Cam Thomas, Cam Thomas, Cam Thomas. Oh, he can score. Oh, Cam Thomas." But when they played Phoenix and the referees swallowed the whistles and they wasn't giving him the ticky tack fouls, we saw the weaknesses in his game. Listen, you can have all the skill in the world, man, but like strength and conditioning in basketball really matters, man. And he could not explode through the contact. You know, they were physical with him, and we saw him have a couple of back-to-back 9, 10-point games. So he's driving to the rim, he throwing his head back, and I'm like, um, it took me to watch other leagues, man. I'm watching like some of the FIBA leagues, and then I watch a lot of the one-on-one space where they have referees, and I'm like, wait a minute over here, man. Like those leagues aren't like even like say college. Like you watch college basketball, they're not calling those little ticky tack fouls, man. They're playing real basketball, man. So if the referees aren't helping Cam Thomas get to the line, I mean, he's just rendered useless. His jump shooting in terms of 3-point shooting is still at league average. He can't guard, and that's the thing, man. You have Apollo Bencaro, they can switch a Jokic on him. I mean, there's a lot like the spacing in the NBA, man. I mean, they can like throw a lot of tough matchups on him by switching, and now you actually have to send help, and that leaves the 3-point shooters wide open, and you're just not going to win if you're going to have a bunch of 36, 37% guys just getting high percentage clean looks from the 3-point line, man. So Cam Thomas doesn't really help in that department defensively. You look at like a Jose Alvarado. I was watching the Pelicans game, and that's how Cam Thomas really needs to play, man. So if you're going to be an undersized guard, you have to play like a Jose Alvarado or what's the other dude's name in Miami? I forgot. Yeah, I just forgot his name, man. But play like him where you could pick up 94 feet and then you're shooting like 39, 40% something percent from the 3-point line, man. But yeah, we've seen the referees don't help out Cam Thomas. He's a net negative out there, man. And then the scoring doesn't really contribute into any type of wins whatsoever, man. So here's where Sean Marks actually messed up over here. It says with a no trade clause, the question is whether or not Brooklyn can find a suitor that will want Thomas as well as one he'd be willing to play for. There haven't been any teams with reported or even rumored interest. Yeah, man. Like I said before, it's not hating. I actually was a huge Cam Thomas fan when he had those triple 40-point games, and I went on the Brian Scalabrine show, and I was like, when they were trashing him, I'm like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. Now I'm gonna have to call into his show sometime this year and actually apologize to him and say, man, boy, was I actually wrong, because all I gotta do is, and this is not hard, man. Basketball is not hard. And like I said before, how can we evaluate talent? One, with a trained basketball eye, and the secondly, is just by comparing him, to his counterparts, comparing him to a Cade Cunningham, to a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I guess Jalen Brunson, they're about the same size, practically. Cam Thomas a slightly bit taller. You look at all of these other star players. Cam Thomas is just not really on that type of level, And a lot of it, like I said before, is just strength. We've seen Donovan Mitchell be able to explode through contact, like get bumps, push guys out of the way and be able to finish. Cam can't do that. He has to have a teardrop, a floater. So they said over here he's 6'3", but according to D-Rock, who stood next to Cam Thomas, he was about 6'1" ish, you know. Um, so a lot of reasons why Cam Thomas, like I said, probably just, other teams are looking at this. He screwed himself up. I would have took the 2-year offer, $28 million um that Sean Marks actually offered him. This way it would be easier to trade him. But right now he's just looking like toxic waste pretty much right now, man. He's just really, really toxic. The attitude, the entitlement, that he think he's owed something. Now he didn't really do anything to prove to anybody, man. So if if you look at Kyrie Irving, they when they traded what's his name, Luka Doncic, and he was the type of guy. He was that guy that they ran their offense through. He was the only one that was like a high percentage one-on-one player, man. Like, no other guys can't really create, like he can. And on every possession, they really needed him to, create. And he actually had to go out there and play defense, and he blew his knee out. So you have to be built a certain way. And this is the second year when they give Cam Thomas the extra responsibility in terms of minutes, and his body just can't hold up, man. So Cam Thomas, I will be getting my Chinese basketball package, and I will definitely be looking forward to seeing you in China. Quite China, Cam Thomas. We will see you in China. And you could be Kobe Bryant. Okay? So, I will wrap this video up. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, and certainly share the show. When you share, the universe certainly shares back with you. Peace.